I just wanted to talk briefly today. I think I had mentioned this week that it's been 11 years since the FBI came to see me in my office and tell me at that point that I was under federal investigation, that I was about to be charged with 3 felonies that were going to result in 9 years in prison. Terrifying experience, something that I still have PTSD from. I don't think it'll ever go away, but maybe that's a good thing because it just constantly keeps me on my toes to never go out and practice that type of behavior again that might put me in that type of situation. Shortly after the FBI coming to see me, contacted my attorney. He went and saw the investigator and the U.S. attorney, and we had a meeting with them a couple days later at the over at the U.S. Attorney's office in Boston. It was a proffer. I didn't know what a proffer was. I'll talk a little bit more about a proffer this week in some of my other videos. But there was a meeting with the FBI and the U.S. attorney, and where I agreed to plead guilty, take responsibility for my crimes, make restitution, cooperate, do anything I needed to do to make this situation as good as it could be. I was in a pretty difficult situation. So about a week or so after that, I remember having a conversation with the FBI agent that was investigating my case. And I had said to him, so what do you think the chances are that I get probation? And he said to me, like, I think your numbers are way too high for probation. I'll never forget that conversation the rest of my life. It was one of the worst conversations that I've ever had. He said, not only are those numbers too high, but you're looking at a significant amount of prison time. So I ended the conversation with him, and I got in my car and drove into downtown Boston. I can remember I was distressed. I was just so incredibly upset and beating myself up for the behavior that had got me into this position. And I remember I called my attorney and I said, I'm in downtown. I'm near your office. Can I come up? And he said, come on up. I went to his office, sat down with him, and I can remember him coming in and sitting down and talking with me and saying, it's going to be okay. Things are okay here. I think maybe this agent is exaggerating. I definitely think that if you do everything that you need to do, that you're supposed to do, and you don't commit any crimes, there's a chance that you might be able to get probation. And, I knew that he was pretty much just telling me what I wanted to hear. The agent had said to me that no one with my guidelines and my position had gotten probation in his memory in the District of Massachusetts. So I knew that he was telling me the truth. So I left my attorney's office just distraught that day. I was just so incredibly upset. And I remember getting the bill about a month later. And, for the 2 hours I spent there for, hopefully just him telling me what I wanted to hear, conversation with him afterwards where I called him when I was on my way home, and then him talking with one of his co-attorneys about my case. The bill was $3,500. So $3,500 for him to tell me what I wanted to hear. I went back to my office and I did something that I did for the next several years. I got on Google and I continued to look at cases similar to mine. What would be the chances that I could get probation? I started Googling penny stock fraud, penny stock probation, pump and dumps, securities fraud probation. I started monitoring other cases in other districts, cooperating witnesses in other districts, what they had gotten for their sentences. And, I remember talking with the agent about this, and he said, it's a complete waste of your time. He said, what happens in one case, one district won't pertain to what's happening in this district, in your case, and we don't even know who your judge is. Every judge is different. He just said, I would just advise you not to commit any more crimes while all this is going on. So again, just an incredibly stressful time in my life. Not to scare anybody, but I still have PTSD 11 years later, and I don't know if that'll ever go away. And again, maybe that's a good thing. It'll keep me on my toes. But I didn't have anybody to help me, to give me any type of sentence mitigation plan or to point me in the right direction. I just made a decision that I was going to not commit any more crimes, that I was going to do what I could do to pay restitution, that I was going to be cooperative as possible, that I was going to continue on with my community service. I was already heavily involved in community service in Boston, and I was going to continue on with that and do other types of community service. I made a decision I was going to immediately find a new career, not only to look good to the court when it came time for sentencing, although that was my main motivation, but to try to get an idea of what I was going to do afterwards. I knew that, at 45 years old, I had my whole life ahead of me, and I was not going to be able to be involved in stocks anymore, and I needed to start recreating and rebuilding my life. And that's what I did from day one. And, I started going out, working on certifications. I went back to college. I started looking at other professions. I bought a business in the health and wellness industry, I just started to try to move my life ahead as much as I could. And I guess that's the one thing that I did right. The FBI came to see me. They told me what the charges were. Instead of thinking about denying that I did anything wrong or I'm going to go to trial, I'm going to try to fight this, I made a decision at that point to get out in front of it as much as I could, to take responsibility, to plead guilty, to do any type of cooperation I could, to make restitution, to pay any fines that were going to be assigned to me. I just got out of the situation as quickly as I could. So I've learned a lot through that experience, and over the past 7 or 8 years of working with other defendants, I've learned a lot. So when someone comes to see me today and tell me that they're in a similar situation to what I was a few years ago, I try to put together an extensive sentence mitigation plan for them, a personal one depending upon their circumstances, how old they are, what profession they're in, what their financial circumstances are, what type of restitution that they could pay to mitigate their sentence. We try to put together a plan that is personal, that's going to help them get the best possible sentence. And if they do have to go to prison, we try to put together a plan with some of our members that have served time in federal prison of how they can go out and serve the shortest potential prison sentence and get home as quickly as possible to their family. And that's what we've done. We've been successful in working with defendants, helping them with a sentence mitigation plan. We've helped some defendants get significantly less sentences than what they were expecting when they were initially charged or arrested. And that's what we continue to do today. We try to help people. We try to help these defendants that were in a similar position to us restore their lives, restore their families' lives. And it's a really difficult time, but I'm here to tell you that you can survive it and get through it and thrive and go forward. I've been able to start a couple different businesses after this experience and just continue to move forward with my life, and I'm grateful for that today. So if you've been contacted by the FBI, if they've come to your office, if you've gotten a target letter, if you've been arrested, if you've been recently indicted, if your name has been in the paper, feel free to contact me. I'll put my details in the bio. You can call me for a no obligation consult. I'm happy to share my experience with you and maybe talk about some of the things that we might be able to do to help you through this journey and get you through it as quickly, as safely, and have the best outcome as possible.